Good afternoon, dear hearts. I wanted to make a video today because we had a question from a student which I thought was really interesting and that might be useful for others as well. And this question was to do with our energy work practice. So in the soul writing course, we work predominantly with writing and meditation, but we also bring in pranayama or mantra, or in the last module, energy work. And in this section, we often call in a spirit guide or the ancestors, and we work with different archetypal, sometimes figures, in order to find a pathway to access truth. So we might work with a totem animal, we might work with the ancestors, we might work with a grandmother figure. And this student made a really interesting point, which was that she noticed when she was trying to do these practices that there was real resistance in her, and that she felt like she was in her mind a lot, and that her mind would be controlling what the spirit guide or ancestor would say, and that therefore it wasn't real or honest. And when she reflected on where this blockage was coming from, she realized that there was a well of untapped grief and sorrow that was waiting to bubble up, and that she was afraid that this work would unearth. And credit to her for, one, recognizing where the resistance came from, and two, also for recognizing that she didn't want to go there at this moment in time. She didn't feel that she had what she needed in order to manage that healing process. And she also mentioned feeling some upset around the fact that she didn't feel she could connect with these guide or spirit figures. And so what I wanted to say, a few things. One is that it's all frills and packaging. It doesn't matter what tools we use to access the truth. And some work better for us in general than others, and some at different times of our lives. And it's the same thing if we're doing yoga asana, or if we're practicing breath work, or if we are practicing meditation, or if we're doing soul writing. They all point to the same moon. They all point to the same truth. And I think it can be helpful to explore different practices to see which ones help you connect with divine truth. And also to notice where there are blockages or where something doesn't feel right. It can be worth exploring why. And maybe there's nothing useful that comes up from that inquiry. Or maybe, like for this student, in exploring why, there was a deeper truth that was uncovered, which was the need for some healing that hadn't been able to be addressed yet. So that's a really powerful thing to be able to do in your personal development and spiritual practice. To recognize, one, what works for you at this moment, and two, if something doesn't work for you, to consider if there might be a reason behind that resistance or friction or blockage. The other thing I wanted to say is that you don't have to connect with a spirit guide or the angels or the ancestors. None of it matters at all. These are just tools that we use to access divine truth. And there can be a real identification around spiritual practice. Yeah, I'm the one who talks to my angel, or I'm the one who does a particular style of yoga that is particularly hard or rigorous or traditional or authentic. And we can so easily get caught in the trappings of the ego. So what I want to say is that it really doesn't matter at all. And as long as you are inquiring in some way It doesn't matter what practice you use, as long as you are inquiring in some way, finding a way to move beyond the limitations of the mind and into deep wisdom. The way in which you get there is largely irrelevant. And when we do our energy work practice, we work with different figures like a totem animal or the ancestors or the spirit guides or a grandmother. And you may find that there is one in particular that works better for you than others. My husband has a strong identification with totem animals. That really is a direct path for him to wisdom. For me, it's more working with the archetypal grandmother figure where I can access that deep wisdom. So it's even within the realm of energy practice, there will be different routes that you can try, different figures to work with. So if anyone else has been having some challenges with that, and particularly if that's leading to you feeling upset or like your spiritual practice is lacking in some way, then I hope that this helps to put your mind at rest. And please do keep sharing with me your feedback on how you're finding these things, and we can talk through it together. On the subject of energy work, if you want to do a bit more on this, well, not so much on energy work, but on relationships more than anything, I would say, is the work of Nicola Moss, who is a systemic coach. She does systemic constellations, I think near Bristol in the UK, and she also does online systemic journaling. And I find that really helpful, particularly if stuff comes up around relationships and dynamics and inherited family patterns, generational trauma. These things can be helpful with that kind of work. So if you're looking for an adjunct to support your energy practice, you might want to try joining some of her sessions, either in person if you're lucky enough to be close to her, or online. All right, I hope that helps. Much love to you all.